You're listening to Two Guys Talking Wine with Michael Pincus and André Prue.
What were we thinking 2 Fridays ago, Michael?
Oh, geez, Andre. I don't know. I don't know.
I know
I've told people about our endeavors.
It's the thing where when we set the time aside to do our tasting for Toronto Life, we were basing it on the response we got from agents in 2021.
It seemed like what's the old saying? It seemed like a good idea at the time, and it did. It literally was like, oh, we can get this done in a night, no problem.
We definitely should have done it over 2 days, but that's the thing where we had. So we were joined by Maroki Tong, 9 ounces please on Instagram, and Julia Rowland, who's a friend of mine from the neighborhood. Julia Drinks Wine, and we tasted in one night 269 bottles of wine, split over 3 categories: bargain bottles below $20, gift wines over $20, and sparkling wines.
And it's really amazing when you put that many wines on a table. One, how much real estate it takes up.
Oh yeah.
I
have a baby. I have a baby on the way, and I had to figure out what to do with all of these bottles. Oh, and before you get into what you're about to say, I know I said it in the last podcast, but to the Wineries of Ontario, to the agents that support the work Michael and I do, we know that Toronto Life is definitely a choice publication to appear in. But having as many bottles sent to us as there were, we apologize for the wines that were not included, but the scrutiny was real, and having a large cross-section means that the consumer benefits. If you're a consumer listening to this, I want you to know that we worked our asses off this year. It was exhausting. I cut into my sleep.
Well, as I said, I didn't get out of there till 2, and you were cleaning up. For the most part, I would say there was a lot of help in the cleaning up department, but then you still had to deal with all those bottles and all those boxes and
the next morning
that the next day. But I mean, there was just a lot of real estate taken up within your house for wine. In fact, some of it took up the backyard. Obviously, that's where you put the sparkling. It was a cold night, so the everything was properly chilled. But it really goes to show you the quality of the wines that come through the LCBO, and not mentioning names, some of it's not so good when compared side by side. And I think that's what a lot of people don't understand, that if you like a certain wine, great, that's what we want you to do. We want you to like whatever wine you want to like. But I'm telling you, sometimes if you And I wish people would not get stuck on, what they call a house wine. I never understand the term house wine because people just drink that. There is such a world of wine out there to drink. And if you just put your house wine side by side, say weekly against something else, I bet you wouldn't have a house wine anymore.
I mean, that's the joy of wine. I don't understand people who drink the same thing week in, week out. But first off, so these articles are going to be rolling out at torontolife.com. I'm not exactly sure when they're going up. Like, full disclosure, we're recording this a little bit earlier in the month of December, right before our deadline. So hopefully some of these lists will be posted. But let's go through each category and rail off. Let's just say our top two choices and see if we align or not. So why don't we start with sparkling? We're getting into the holidays, and sparkling is definitely something that's on people's mind. What was Michael's top choice for sparkling in terms of what we were tasting?
Geez, that's a good one, Andre. I'm just firing up my list here. So sparkling wine.
I'll give it a start. As much as we've talked in this podcast about how I don't mind spending the extra bucks on wine, the Romeo Prosecco. The actual list price is $14.95, but it's limited time offer until January 1st for $12.95. Where else are you going to get a bottle of good Prosecco for $12 and change?
That was a good bottle of sparkling. I was a fan of the Pommery Brut Rosé. If we're talking a higher end bottle of sparkling wine, so that would have been one of my picks. But I'd probably call that an outlier because really, when I'm looking at sparkling, I don't buy a lot of champagne.
No, it is pretty expensive, especially in this market. But I mean, at this time of year, I do like to treat myself, and it was really nice that a bottle of Bollinger Special Cuvée Brut showed up. I mean, the price is getting a little up there. It's $90.95, but I mean, it's just, for me, that's kind of the baseline for when you're starting to get into that super like opulent and rich, the over-the-top champagne that is just like, you need to ponder it a little bit. And year in and year out, that wine delivers. I'm not disappointed.
The Bolly was baller, for lack of a better term. So let's just put champagne aside here. I will give you my top two, not in no particular order. You know what? I thank Henry Appellum for sending in every one of their sparkling wines, which is, I think, 3.
Yes. No, there's 4. There's 4 if you're including their Prosecco style one.
Mazzara.
Yeah.
So it turns out that one of my top was, and I'm always a big fan of that rosé. I'm always a big fan of the Carte Blanche, but this year the real standout was that Brut. Put them side by side, all 3 of them. And that, just the regular, everyday old $32.95 on sale for $28.95 till January 1st, is just killer sparkling wine. So, back on top go Henry Appellum. Sometimes you like Trius Brut, but I think this year the Henry Appellum is back on top.
I would agree with that. It was simply stunning, and I think you're saving, like, the Carte Blanche is iconic at this point, and good for Henry Appellum for carving out the niche for their top tier sparkling. But the Brut on the shelf right now is one of the bottles. If you're looking to save a few bucks, don't want to shell out the Bollinger money, because let's be real, you can get 3 bottles of 3 bottles. Oh, geez, there's some quick maths for Andre. 3 bottles of Henry Appellum for one bottle.
Bottles. Yep.
Yeah.
No.
Okay,
at
let's get into...
$28.95. You can pick up 3 Henry Appellum for 1 bottle of Bolly. So
let's get into the gift wines. The gift wines.
Well, I wanted to mention one more. I said champagne doesn't really count. And I don't know if you really picked your second bottle of, I call them budget sparklings. That's the people are looking for. So you made me go. You wanted me to go first. I didn't. I still think, and it was one of our top ones last year, that Bernard Massard from Luxembourg
sparkling. No, I agree with you on that. And it was just like, I think we were trying to be mindful of the stuff that we reviewed last year, where the quality needed to be exactly on par, if not better, because there are a lot of great products at the LCBO. And when we opened that bottle, you and I were just like, yep, this is it. And it comes in like a really cool gift box, which I mean can be really annoying if you're someone like me with a million wine glasses, but if you're someone who breaks a lot of wine glasses, it's a nice thing to go. They don't pay us to say that. It's just like, it's a really beautiful package. If you got an Office Secret Santa, I think most budgets are in and around there, so you can win Secret Santa this year. People will be fighting over it. It is, it's solid, completely solid, Michael.
It's a solid sparkling. Really loved it, and I think I saw about midway through the year they brought it in without the glasses. So look for it all year round, because I think it's starting to be one of those wines that they are bringing in more often.
I just noticed. I'm looking at the gift wines. You missed one. You missed actually a very important one, because I think that's one of the standouts for this year. Because you and I had a bit of a debate. We were fortunate enough, if people were following us on Instagram, to attend a dinner a few weeks ago with the winemaker from Stag's Leap Wine Cellars, makers of Artemis.
Oh.
And the 2019 Artemis, I think it is the most expensive wine that we have on our list for this year. No, the Bollinger is a little more expensive, but for gift wine, the Artemis is there. And it's one of these things where it blows my mind when I set foot into one of the nicer LCBOs, either in Oakville or, up on the mountain in Hamilton, and I see the number of people who leave the store with Caymus in their hands. I'm sorry. This is going to be a shots fired at Caymus. The residual sugar is creeping up. The wine's like $120 a bottle, where Artemis is still clocking in below $100 a bottle. It's a perfectly sellable, amazing example of Napa Valley wine that, frankly, offers a lot of value at the price that it's at.
I'll agree with you. I love the Artemis. I really did. But under the same kind of philosophy, and I guess my philosophy as we go, always looking for that bargain, although gift. I'm still a big fan of that of the 2019 Decoy from Duckhorn Vineyard. That clocks in at $40. And if you're still walking out with Caymus, you're missing out on the Decoy. It's a second wine, obviously, but I think it's bang for the buck.
It is bang for the buck, but I don't think it quite rises up to that level as the Artemis. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like I said, I really don't think that Caymus is a good wine. I think if you like sweet red wine from California, you can get a lot of better options for a lot less money. But if you're looking for that first rung on the ladder, like the entry, like make me fall in love with Napa Cab, make me fall in love with California Cab, Decoy is a good starting place. I agree with you on that.
I think it's a good entry point.
Well,
like
I was surprised.
Artemis just knocks it up, and Artemis takes it up another level.
Yeah.
Decoy is a California wine, although it's mostly Napa, if I'm not mistaken. Whereas Stag's Leap is pure Napa.
Yeah, totally. I think not just Napa, but also purely. Oh, okay, so this is Napa Valley on the bottle, but Stag's Leap is one of the sub appellations in Napa Valley. Anyways, this is us getting a little bit too nerdy. If you're spending
we're a little on the geeky side. There was a number of Chardonnays on the list.
Oh my God!
Can I check them out?
Oh, can I just listen? My little Ontario heart swelled with joy. You and I have been doing this a long ass time, Michael, and this is probably the best tasting that we've done in this style, where Ontario went toe to toe. We had some really great wines submitted to us in the gift category. And as I said at the beginning of this, apologies to agents where your wines weren't listed on this, but the competition was way stiffer than I was expecting. What I was not expecting, Westcott, Le Clos Jourdain, and Magnata, of all places. We don't talk about Magnata a lot on the winery, but these were the standouts. These were the standouts of the gift-giving wines. So, I need to take my hat off to them. Ontario, I mean, this is something Michael and I have been saying for a long time, but with our little panel of people in my dining room, shoulder to shoulder with 1 million bottles of wine, Ontario were standouts in categories of Pinot Noir and Chardonnay.
The Chardonnay from Westcott, stood out as a Chardonnay, and on the list we do have something from Burgundy. We do have a couple from California, but I mean that Westcott, as you said, toe to toe with anything from Burgundy, anything from California. It was one of those moments where you're tasting them side by side and you're like, yeah, this can stand up.
Well, we have 2 Pinot Noirs from Oregon on the list, and the Le Grand Clos, the 2020 Le Grand Clos from Le Clos Jourdain was right up there. It's not there were no mulligans on this. There were no, oh, Michael, we should probably talk about Ontario because we're the Ontario wine guys. No. We did not. We didn't have any stipulation on where we had to bring the wines from. If you were good enough, you made the list. 100%.
My final shout out would be to the Carpenetto Farnito Cabernet Sauvignon. It's definitely a wine that we talked about a little bit at the table. It's from the 2016 vintage in Tuscany, and it needs time. But man, is that a good wine? Yeah.
I wasn't expecting the gift category to be as stiff as it was, frankly, because last year, like I said, we just didn't get quite as many bottles submitted to us as we did this year. Let's move on to the bargain bottles, which was a lot harder than I thought. We had 120, 140 of the bottles sent to us fit into this category, so below $20.
Yeah, this probably was the toughest category we had to go through. I'm looking at my list here, and I don't know if we're missing a few on the list, but 129 bottles on this. We split it between white and red, and then we just tasted. We tried to get them broken down into Rieslings and Sauvignon Blancs and everything like that.
All right, I'm going to go.
After a while, we're like, these wines are going to go side by side, so it doesn't matter what order we taste them in. Same thing with the reds. Like they're going to go side by side. Can't.
But I mean, it was interesting. It was interesting, and it's the thing that I like to do. And it's just this is like a bit behind the curtain of the Great and Powerful Oz. Is last year we did it. We had Guillaume and your friend Dwight there, where they were our sober, or up until about 11 p.m. sober second thoughts. And this year we had Julia and Muroki, just being sort of the tiebreaker. And it's kind of funny. We had a couple of like real arguments over the quality of certain wines, but they were wines that weren't going to make it into the guide anyway, so they're not worth mentioning. But it's just like the discussion was fierce, and it is good having other palates that are different than ours, with varying levels of wine education and wine interest, and also varying levels of their own personal biases to work with as well, that I think made this tasting even more successful. But moving on to bargain wines, I want to start with our cheapest wine on the list, because I'm looking at it and it's making my mouth salivate, because I'm not going to go out on a limb and say that this is like a 96 point wine. I'm sure if the wine writer for the Toronto Star were to taste this wine, she might score it 96 or 97. But this was
not if she saw your score, then she would just downgrade it for the sake of
spite. Oh, you think she pays attention? You think she pays attention to what we do? I don't think she pays attention to what we do.
There would be some spite there, I have a feeling.
Oh, that's hilarious. Candidato Oro, Tempranillo Garnacha, Castilla VDT. I had a hard time finding information about this winery, because I was legitimately curious about it, but it's $8.50. So I have to laugh while I say that, because in 2022 you can still get a bottle of wine for $8.50. That blows my mind. And it was a very tasty bottle. I think we tasted it bone dry and vibrant fruit. And it's my understanding that it's from central Spain. It's not from a more prestigious DOC or IGP. Sorry, I don't know what the terminology is for Spain. I only know France. Can you help me out? You've been to Spain?
I don't. I think they're in a kind of a DOC or a DOC kind of thing as well.
Okay, but I mean, it was stunning. And if you're looking for a cooking wine, because I'm not an advocate of cooking with things you won't drink yourself, you'll want to drink this. If you want to cook with this, you'll have to buy an extra bottle, because you're going to drink it while you're cooking with it. You need to make sure there's enough wine for your food.
It was a really interesting bottle. I remember tasting it, looking at you, and we're both like, yeah, that's in.
Yep, totally.
And, then we looked at the price, and we're like, doesn't matter. It's still in. It's still in. And you can't at that point look at price and go, well, are we going to be laughed at for putting an $8.50 bottle of wine in? Laugh all you want. More for us, I guess.
Totally.
So, I would like to tip my hat to the Mattias Riccitelli. Hey, Malbec, Mambo Italiano. Hey, Malbec.
Oh, you're such a weirdo.
Was just a really fun bottle. I know you honed right in on the label,
yep.
Which was a cartoon with a guy, snapping his fingers and some sort of robots coming over. But it was just one of those. You look at the label and you go, no, and then you taste the wine and you go, yeah.
It's. So, I think there's something. I think there's something happening in Argentina where it's a bit of a finally a snapback from the Parkerization of wines. Where I think a lot of people, they gravitate to Argentinian Malbec because it tastes like, when you want to describe tannin and you want to describe those dark fruit flavors, you can open up a bottle of Argentinian Malbec and just be like, oh yeah, this tastes exactly what the back of the bottle says. This wine was friggin' elegant. It did have some aging potential if you wanted to, but why? I mean, if you want a good to go Malbec, dive right in. This is it. This is where you need to be. $18.95,
$19, yeah. And it really hit all the right marks for a really tasty Malbec. I have to be honest, Andre. I know we're doing it here. I've already texted a few people and said, I know you're a Malbec fan, so get your buns out there before the article hits, and pick up some bottles, or else you'll be out of luck.
Yeah, because I remember last year we were the victim of our own success. The Chateau Le Grand Retour, which is something I actually still very much enjoy buying whenever I can find it on the shelves. But I remember we wrote the Toronto Life article. You and I both raved about the Chateau Le Grand Retour. Then I remember going into an LCBO, like this is like a wine in pretty wide release. What? It's sold out? I think our tasting note had a little bit yeah. Yeah,
we were a little too excited about that one for our own good.
Yeah, it was annoying, but also like, you know, at least it's not just our mothers reading our articles. At least we know that there's people reading it. I've had a few people say that they had our lists like on their phones for like months after we read it to do that. I know in the gift guide I tipped my hat to Ontario. I need to do it again for the bargain wines because I know sub $20 is so hard for Ontario, but our boys at Cave Spring came through in a big way. We have
they hit the list twice.
We have a Chardonnay. We understand they're in. This is one where we're calling it audible on something, but the vintage we tasted was 2019. At the time that we've recorded this, we will have retasted the 2020. So I'm saying 50-50 whether or not the Chardonnay is going to actually be in the list. But if you are trolling the shelves of the LCBO, scoop up all the 2019 you can. It's probably the best Chardonnay from any country on the planet at this price, $16.95.
Yeah, I really liked it. Surprisingly, I liked it, and I was the one who trying to find some 2019 and realized that the LCBO may be switching over to the 2020. So we'll know where we're standing at, as you said, by the time the article hits the.
But one that we know is on
newsstands. I don't know if that's the right word anymore.
No, it goes online. We're not hitting any newsstands, unfortunately. But the other Cave Spring offering that we know is going to be in the guide is the 2020 Estate Grown Cab Franc, which is also sub $20, which also blows my mind. I don't understand how you can afford to sell an Estate Grown Cab Franc in Ontario for below $20. So once again, like
because you're not running a vine hospital, right? You don't have that kind of.
Go to SoundCloud.com and look for Two Guys Talking Wine. Listen to our interview with Len Penichetti and Angelo Pavan, where we talk about the foundation of Cave Spring. But if someone had said to me, hey, Cave Spring's going to be on your bargain wine twice, I would have said, yeah, the hell they are. But here we are. And a third Ontario entrant as well. I think it's just a testament to how great 2020 was as a vintage. The Fielding Fireside Red, Cab Franc, Cab Sauv blend. I know you and I are fairly critical of Cab Sauv, but 2020 was clearly a vintage where Cab Sauv ripened. Go out and grab it. Like, really great Ontario picks on the bargain guide. I'm thoroughly thrilled as a wine writer that focuses on Ontario, how well we showed.
Yeah, and so André, I know, is going out to the LCBO probably in the next few days to make sure he gets the wines he wants. I'll probably do the same, so that now you can all go out and buy.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. Is there anything else that you wanted to highlight from the bargain wines? I think the entry level.
Big fan of the Chapoutier Belaruche. Belaruque, I think is how it is.
No,
series,
Monsieur, putain, c'est Belaruche.
All right.
Belaruque. I'm going to come over there and slap you.
I'm a big fan of both of those. And then I do have the one, the surprise for me, which was the J. Lebeg Grave, which to me just made me go, well, that's really good. And at $18 for a Bordeaux white, that's pretty surprising. Let's be honest.
Yeah, that is solid. I also enjoyed that as well, and enjoyed it the next day as well.
So, yeah, the rest of the list, go out and search it out on social media. I know André and I will be we're publishing it when it finally does publish, so you can check out André's post at
André Wine Review and AndreWineReview.ca and TorontoLife.com, at least for the next little bit. Thanks to Toronto Life for letting us write this again this year. We work really hard on it, and I hope the gratitude's coming through your speakers, but the people who helped us make sure that we could write this, you you and I have talked about the state of wine journalism, real wine journalism, not paid wine journalism, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but a different thing. But real wine journalism is not in a great spot. So the fact that Toronto Life trusts us to hit their journalistic standards means a lot. And the people who let us make it happen, like, it means a lot.
Now, to all the agents, all the wineries, everybody who sent wine in, thank you very, very much. We really do appreciate it. Again, we'll put it online the moment we see it. Mine will be at michaelpincuswinereview.com. It'll be at The Grape Guy on social media, Michael Pincus on social media as well. Andre, it's Friday night.
So now everyone knows we recorded the last 2 episodes in the same session. You ended last week's episode the same way. So, yeah, it's Friday night.
Wait, it's Thursday night, Andre. So
too late.
Best that we say goodnight and get ready for Friday.
Too late, Mike.
Good night.
Thanks for listening. Please subscribe to Two Guys Talking Wine on iTunes.
Two Guys Talking Wine is produced by Jim Ray, Adam Duran, and Ken Little.